Welcome to Android tutorial, and we just go through the fragment overviews. So we'll discuss about the fragment here and in past phase. So we have a layout here, and whenever we have a list view in that, so whenever we click on that row, it has to display the results. So how can we achieve it? So here, when it is portrait mode, when I display it, I can display on the screen here like this, or when it is landscape mode, I will display like this here, like this. So this is called, and the portion, this is called the fragment, and when the portion of that activity is called a fragment. So screen is an activity, and that in that portion is called fragment. So it's basically, it is introduced in the honeycomb for dealing with the tablet. See, in portrait we have displayed like this. If you same thing you display in the fragment in tablet, so it occupies the entire space and it not looks good. So what I have to do, I will display in one off portion in the list view like this, and whenever I place the details over there. So when it comes to the portrait mode, when I click on that, I will open one more activity, start one more activity and display on that, or the same screen itself we can display on that. So if this space is not enough, so we go through the activity and place the fragment. This is what the design is that. So fragment is to deal with the large screen size like tablet and mobile landscape. So fragment deals with that. So here I have fragment. So this fragment I can place it here. When it is clicked on list view, I can place it here, and when it is clicked on this list view, and I can place it here. So the fragments are reusable. So one fragment can be used for any active, same fragment can be used by other activities. So one activity can have fragment 1 whenever it's needed, and it can have fragment 2 also. And another activity, if you want fragment 2, same fragment 1, here this activity is different, it takes the same fragment 1. So like this, fragments are reusable, so it increases the performance. Next, without fragments, can I do like this? Yes, we can do it, because see, I have a layout like this, and if I want to split the screen into two parts, so I can define a same layout. This is a list view. I am defining the one more layout with a linear layout with a vertical of views, and if I give the weight of 1 and weight 1, it will share the space equally. Like that in tablet also, if you give a horizontal orientation, then its weight is 1 and 1, then it's does for it. So the same functionality we can do it in manipulating in layout. So we can have a three layouts in this list view and 3 layouts, and whenever I want that layout, I can make it visible, and I can make other 2 will be invisible. So in that way I can take like fragment, whichever the fragment you want, I can activity can place it, and like this layout also we can do it. Whichever we want, we can make it visible. Whichever is done we don't want, we can call gone, so it will not be there in the memory itself also. So we can achieve it, but when app goes and it makes you complex. So that's why fragment gives you that. So fragment will have, each fragment will have its own layout. So whichever activity calls that fragment, we can just calls it and place it on that place. So it can be statically means we can define in a layout. While defining, we can give that. So this screen I am defining, I am giving defining, I can give that. So list view and one fragment in layout itself. Here I can give dynamically. Initially I want to have a list view. When it is clicked only, I want to place it the fragment. So when it clicks dynamically while app is running, I can take this fragment and place it here. So we can give it in a static manner. We can declare it in a linear layout, or we can take it in dynamically. Then so whenever activity calls for the fragment, it creates the instance, and then that instance will be tied to the activity. Who does? The fragment manager will do that. So fragment object, it creates in the application context and activity in the activity context. And so when activity want to have a fragment, then fragment manager will take it and give it the object of that, and the activity have the reference to the fragment object, and fragment will have the reference to the activity object. So fragment can communicate with the views in the activity, and activity call methods on the fragment. So it's all tied. So when activity gets destroyed, and fragment also get destroyed. So when activity, so same life cycle. So activity is within the activity, fragment is within the activity, and it is tied with the activity. So within the activity, that means activity destroys, fragment also destroys. So when fragment manager sees that activity is on destroyed, and so through that whatever the tied mechanism, so that it destroys the fragment also. So in this way, but fragment will have its own life cycle, because it has to tie to the activity, and each fragment will have its own layout. So it has to inflate that view. So for that, on attach, it is tied to the activity, on create, and on create view is inflate that view, and on destroy view, before destroyed, it destroys the view also. And remaining life cycle, on activity created, once activity it is tied to this fragment is created, instance of activity is created, that means on create. After on create, this on activities will be executed, and it has the same life cycle of the activity: on start, on resume, on pause, on restart, on stop, save instance state, on destroy. Everything is same. It goes with the activity. If activity in on start, fragment also in the on start. When it is destroyed, fragments also destroyed. So in one case it is there, even activity is destroyed, I don't want to, I retain the state of the object, so that when configuration changes, it connects to the same object. So for that, what I need to do, I need to call set retain state in on create of the fragment. When first time is called, so on create is called only first time when it is creating object. When it activity is attached, then on creates. When it calls, you have to call the set retain state. So even activity destroyed, the fragment state remains the same. So when activity comes back, that when attached to this fragment, so activity have the reference to the object, fragment is connected to the activity. So in that we can retain the state. This retained state is helpful. When activity is destroying, we can on save instance cannot save the lost data. If you want to save the lost data, we can put it in the fragment, because fragment state is in application context. It remains when I set the retained state, the object remains. It won't get destroyed when activity is destroyed. So when its configuration changes, when it comes back, it refers to the same object. So you can take that data from the fragment. And fragments and fragment we have async loads associated with the fragment. So fragment state is retained, so there is no memory leakage problems for the when async task is try to refer the activity. So it it attaches to the fragment, so a fragment state is retained, then there is no problem in that when the activity is destroyed. So it attaches to the